Good evening and welcome to tonight's upload. My name's Emma. Subscribe for hauls, weekend vlogs and chats. Today is going to be a chatty video. You can tell because I'm in my bedroom. I feel comfortable chatting in my bedroom. I don't feel quite so comfortable chatting in my office with giant emoticons in the background. So it's a bedroom chat. Recently I did a video which was a chatty catch up and I asked you what you would like to see, and I was really surprised that so many of you wanted to hear about my birth story. So shout outs to, and apologies if I say your name wrong, we've got Emily Borthwick, Helen Finnegan, Francesca Chick, Dawn Williams, Shahnaz Begum, Lois Marie Brustalis, which is a very glamorous name, Amy Beechcroft, or Beecroft, and Lovestruck 1968 was some of the people that wanted to hear my birth story. Leave in a comment below if that was you, and a little hello from me. So, birth story. I thought I would talk about my daughter because my daughter's birth impacted on how my son's birth happened. So my daughter, who is now 5, was due to be born on my birthday, which made me incredibly cross because I am a Beyonce style diva and I'm like, I want my birthday to be my birthday. So I was a bit like, fingers crossed she's overdue. So it kind of got to like 3 days overdue, and now I'm like, I'm done with this now. I wasn't a great pregnant person. Get this child out of me. And then at four days overdue, the hospitals here in the UK send you for something called a sweep. I'm not going to describe what a sweep is. You can go and look it on the internet, but let's just say it's rather uncomfortable. So I had my sweep and I came home, sat down, watched a bit of telly, and then went to bed. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I rolled over, which is no mean feat when you are heavily pregnant. I rolled over and I heard a, literally, it was like a pop. It was a noise, an actual loud, like bang. I don't know if it was physically inside me, but there was a noise and my waters broke. Ensue major panic from other half, who was like, we need to go to the hospital, we need to do this, we need to do that. So we gave the hospital a ring and they were like, hang out for a little bit and then come in a couple of hours. So labour started and I started to become dilated. We went along to the hospital for our first visit because, again, in the UK, once you go into labour, it's not like, I think in America you're kind of in hospital. In England you have to be a certain centimetres dilated to be kept in. So we went in, had another sweep, I went to do a sweep, had another sweep, and they were like, you know what, you're only 2 centimetres dilated, you've got another 8 to go. Go home. Went home. Labour pains came and they do hurt. I could fib and say like it's lovely and stuff, but they do hurt. The way I coped with my labour pains was to ensure my husband was as far away from me as humanly possible. Go away. There was none of this like, come and rub my back. It was like, you go away now. I don't want you near me because your face is annoying me. Your smell is making me sick. Leave the vicinity. I also had a tenders machine. So I was using that, which you press at the same time as the contractions. Again, you can go and Google all about that to try and cope with the pain relief. I'm not entirely sure if it helped or not. There was still pain, but it made me focus on something else. All whilst this was happening, water was continuously pouring out of me. Now, don't get scared. This is not normal. But water was continuously pouring out of me. I went back in, checked to be dilated again. They were still like, no, you're still not very far gone. You need to go home. But I was like, but I am continuously leaking water. And they were like, well, keep an eye on it. We had puppy pads dotted around the house. This is the sophisticated part of labour. Puppy pads on the couch because the water was just coming out of me. Didn't want to get water on the couch. Every time we went to the hospital, puppy pads in the car because the water was just pouring out of me. And the hospital said, right, the water's coming out of you. That means the baby has nothing surrounding them. When there's no water surrounding the baby, it's not very healthy for them. They can get infections. So we're going to call you in and we're going to induce you to help this process along. Cool. Drove to the hospital. Still having labour pains. Still annoyed with my husband. Impregnated me with his child. How dare you? Leave. Got to the hospital. I think I was about 5 or 6 centimetres dilated. Just have a little check. We're just going to do a little check before we put the stuff in to induce you. And then there was a bit of a muttering amongst the staff. When you hear a muttering, you know it's not a good sign. Because you don't mutter good things. You don't go, oh, this is going really well. She's doing a really good job, isn't she? No, because you just go, you're doing a really good job. Muttering means bad. Muttering, scuttling off, scuttling back with the doctor. Another hand to do a little sweep. By this time, I was inviting the cleaner. Would you like to put your hand up for me and have a sweep? My boss at work, do you fancy coming and having a look? Such was so many hands in my private parts. What we're touching isn't actually a head, was said. What do you mean? It's a bottom. Every time we put our hands up you, it's not a head we've been touching, it's been a bottom. Oh, okay, cool. So what do we do about that? Do we just try and turn the baby? It's going to be fine. No, you need an emergency C-section now. And when you have an emergency C-section, and leave in the comments if anybody has had one, it is an emergency. It's kind of, you are rushed down to surgery. Within the hour, I had, you know, the gown on. I was getting the epidural, all whilst kind of having contractions. Because if your baby is breech and the baby is trying to come out, it's super dangerous and the baby can get stuck. Because the head, I'm using my hands a lot. The head is what pushes the body out. So there was an emergency. I will say one funny story though. We were sat in the room and you have to sign lots of scary documents if you're going to have a C-section, where they talk about the dangers that could happen to you. And I was kind of okay at this point because I just wanted the baby out. So I was like, right, I'll sign it. Husband, very upset. She's really sweet because he was really worried about me. And they said, right, Mr. Conway, you need to put your gown on now. Because we're going into surgery, you need to put your scrubs on, you know, when they look all like George Clooney off here. Yeah, my husband started to take all his clothes off. Because he thought he had to be naked in scrubs. There's like nurses, doctors, you know, surgeons, and my husband just going, ba-da-da-ba, stripping off, crying, bless his cotton socks. So they were like, no, 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 over the clothes, Mr. Conway. So he got his scrubs on. I had the epidural, which was a bit of a struggle because, long story short, had a back operation and it's quite hard to get the anaesthetic in, but we did it, and then I had my C-section. If you know you're going to have a C-section or you've got a C-section planned, don't worry, it is fairly painless. You feel a strange sort of tugging. I went very, very cold, so they kind of put a blanket on me, and then the baby is pulled out. They do whatever tests and it's held above you, and then you can have your little photo. It's quite difficult to like hold it because you're like numb from kind of there downwards. But afterwards, I presume it's similar to if you have a normal labour. You get whisked into the room, you're given tea and toast. Funny story number 2, husband thought it was for him. Where's the toast gone? Where's the toast gone, Bab? Oh, you ate it. Can we have some more toast? Because he thought it was his little snack. So you have tea and toast, and then you're encouraged to breastfeed. It was an emergency. It was kind of stressful. But I think when you're a mom, you just want to get your baby out as safe and as quick as possible. And I found this kind of inner strength where I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be fine. The recovery from a C-section is a bit more difficult. You do have a catheter for 24 hours, which I didn't know until they went, can we just take your catheter out? I was like, what? And they're like, whoop, 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 and pulled it. I was like, oh, blimey. You do have to stay in hospital an extra night, which is a bit of a pain in the bum, but you get to, you know, they want to check that you can still go to the loo and stuff, even though you've had a C-section. So subsequently with my son, when you've had a C-section, you can choose an elective C-section, and that's what I had with my little boy 2 years later, kind of virtually not that long after I had my daughter, virtually exactly 2 years later. With the planned C-section, it is a much nicer experience. It is, you book the day, you get to go down, it's much calmer, there's no rushing. There was music playing, they introduced the surgeons, they introduced the team, and it was just a much easier experience. So if you have had a traumatic emergency C-section and are worried about a planned one, it is a much better experience. The second time I had a little bit of a funny reaction to the anaesthetic, so I was a little bit sick. The recovery obviously was a bit harder because I had a flipping toddler clambering over me all the time. But do you know what? I did it and I got through it. So my birth story is a bit like, I had a baby but I didn't give birth twice. So I have got a birth story, but it's not kind of the conventional one. Leave in the comments a little bit about your birth story. Did you have a C-section? Did you have natural? Did you have a beautiful water birth, which was my plan that went by the wayside? I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. If there's anything else you'd like me to chat about in detail, leave in the comments below. I don't know, weaning or milestones. And give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, a high five if you want to subscribe, and I will see you very soon for another chatty upload. Bye guys.